We are coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. My name is Bentura Komboka, and our sign language interpreter tonight will be Clement Moli. And leaders from the Mount Kenya region now maintains that President Uhuru Kenyatta is still the region's kingpin. Speaking during the much-anticipated Limuru 3 meeting, the leaders resolved that they are looking up to Kenyatta to give them direction and hand over the mantle. The meeting also resolved to have the region form a coalition dubbed Haki Coalition that will be the political vehicle into the 2027 elections. Brian Amoai attended the event and filed the following reports.
On Friday, the journey to Limuru had already been set. The region, which had been greatly divided politically since the 2022 elections, decided to chart a new path, that of unity. The leaders maintained they will continue to recognize Uhuru Kenyatta as the Mount Kenya kingpin until such a time that the former head of state would officially step down. During the meeting, the leaders called on Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta to convene a meeting and unanimously agree on the region's direction ahead of the upcoming elections.
Wherever you are, Your Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, tunakupenda.
After the push and pull between the conveners and the government-allied leaders from the region, the meeting was conducted peacefully, with the resolution being the formation of the Haki Coalition, which they say will push for the region's interests and unity ahead of the 2027 elections.
We, the people of the region, have resolved that we shall unite under one umbrella movement to safeguard our interests and to speak as one mountain with one voice.
Amid ongoing debates about equitable resource allocation under the one man, one vote, one shilling principle, the Haki Coalition pledged to use its platform to champion the region's interests.
The allocation of national resources must be equitable and guided by our one man, one vote, one shilling policy. That we reserve the right to continue to highlight all issues that are negatively affecting our people.
Pushing for the region's unity was their main agenda. The leaders now say it is prudent that they speak in one voice.
We shall work towards uniting the region in all the three thematic areas: political, economic, and socio-cultural. 2, that the region shall pursue all its interests through all the means necessary, constitutional, political, economic, and civic action to attain our inherent and unalienable rights and freedom, and as guaranteed to us by God.
President William Ruto's administration was on the receiving end, with the political class taking to the stand to call him out over what they termed as punitive policies that are detrimental to the region's growth.
We are the people!
The focus centered on Finance Bill 2024, particularly objections to proposed taxes. It is a meeting opposed by UDA-allied politicians from the outset, a meeting that has seen the government become a punching bag, but one that gives direction to a mountain divided. And just like the past Limuru meetings, this one seeks to steer the region in one direction. They came here with one agenda: to chart a way forward for the Mount Kenya community. And as the Limuru 3 meeting comes to an end, the one resolution that has come out of this place is that the Mount Kenya region needs to speak in one voice. Brian Amoai, K24, Limuru, Kiambu County.
And the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce is pushing for a structured legal framework to bring stability to Kenya's tax regime. They're advocating for regulations that will govern how taxes are adjusted and introduced, aimed to mitigate the unpredictability that arises with each new finance bill. Today, they've raised concerns about the potential impact of the Finance Bill 2024 on the manufacturing sector, cautioning that it could stifle growth in the industry. Meanwhile, Parliament's Finance Committee is actively engaging in public participation on the bill across different counties. David Kagina with that report.
According to the Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute's strategic plan for 2023 to 2027, the government aims to increase manufacturing's contribution to GDP from 7.2% in 2022 to 15% by 2027. However, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce opines that this may remain to be a pipe dream if the tax regime in Kenya is not regulated. In the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce Business Barometer Quarter 2 2024, an unpredictable regulatory environment was cited as the second major reason why companies anticipate a decline in performance.
We need a comprehensive tax policy that will guide how tax laws are amended and how new taxes are introduced. And no investor is willing to put in their money, their skill, or their time into an economy where every other year a new finance bill comes in and it might affect your business significantly, or worst case, run you out of business. What we're hearing from our manufacturers at the Chamber of Commerce is that the discontentment is getting to a position where they're considering moving their production to neighboring countries and then just supply back under the East African Common Tariff and sell their products to Kenya.
The Finance Bill 2024 suggests that manufacturers of excisable products are not allowed to offset excise duty on raw materials to that of the final product.
Now, that cost will be transferred to the consumers. This will make the cost of the products high, and what it does is that in general it makes local manufacturing uncompetitive compared to finished products that are imported. So it works against manufacturing.
There is also opposition from investors and businesses against Treasury's proposal to exempt Kenya Revenue Authority from obtaining personal data such as property and bank account details of taxpayers without a court warrant. Treasury argues that this is necessary to combat tax evasion.
The current structure is that if the taxman needs some information from you, they can go to court and get a court order and be able to get the information. And that process is working. So we are asking, why should we abandon it? What problem are we solving thereof? And there is also a concern on what safeguards have KRA put in so that in the event, and we obviously hope that it doesn't happen, that they get exempted from these laws, what safeguards are there that they will ensure that there's no data mismanagement?
President William Ruto is on record saying he targets Kenya to collect at least 22% of its GDP in taxes by 2027. However, the private sector insists that the current tax strategy needs to be relooked.
But then at what cost? We can do all these and we end up with a dead private sector. Then what then have we done for our economy? And what we suggest and advise government is that, yes, it's great to seek more revenue, but let's expand the tax bracket. And even as we do that, let's apply the same rigor and the same energy into the expenditure side. And let us monitor our expenditures. Let us cut down on our expenditures.
In Murang'a County, where Parliament's Committee on Finance is conducting public participation, residents are advocating for a business-friendly environment, particularly for farmers. Local leaders are also pushing for the inclusion of bursary consolidation in the Finance Bill 2024. The committee has until 28th of this month to conclude of public participation on the Finance Bill 2024. David Kagina, K24, Nairobi.
But I mean, it's a journey.
And away from that, KHCR has sued the government over negligence on the manner it handled the floods crisis in the country. In a letter, the commission termed the manner in which the government conducted evictions in Mukuru slums as inhumane during flooding season, as it caused harm to an already bleeding situation. Even as the commission demands compensation for flood victims, families affected by floods in Machakos County are still putting up in rental houses after their houses were swept away by the floods. Electine Odera reports.
That for more than 2 weeks this has been her home is inconceivable. Finding life in a rented house is what Rebecca Kimoni, together with her ailing husband, are slowly coming to terms with. Their house in Kitanga, Mua Ward in Machakos County, was swept away by the ravaging floods, forcing the elderly couple to seek refuge in this single room.
Tutatoka, tutaenda Buloti. Tutakaa Buloti. Buloti iko ya pesa. Buloti tutalipa pesa. chakula hakuna, chakula hapa tu. Hivyo. Tutaweka hapa nyumbani, italala hapo, misiko yote itaenda na nyumba.
Katika area hii tuko na familia zaidi ya 100 ambao wamekuwa wamepata shida kwa sababu ya mvua. Nyumba ambao imeanguka ndio ilikuwa nyumba ya kipekee ambao ilikuwa hapa, na kufika pale kama vile mmeona nyumba yenyewe yote iliangushwa na mvua. So walihamia kwa soko kama tarehe 5, na kwa hivyo kama majirani tunaomba ya kwamba, na kama serikali tunaomba ya kwamba huyu mama akipata msaada na wengine wale ambao ni wa area hii itakuwa ni shukrani kubwa.
Such has prompted the Kenya Human Rights Commission to swing into action. It has sued government for negligence during the recent floods that ravaged homes, displaced hundreds of thousands, and tragically claimed hundreds of lives nationwide. The commission has faulted government for conducting evictions in the Mukuru, Kwaruben and Kwanjenga slums during floods, which caused more harm to an already bleeding injury. It is demanding for compensation for flood victims, accusing government for failing to implement a timely national response plan, despite a warning by the Met Department on July 30, 2023, regarding intensification of the country's rainy season due to the El Nino weather pattern. Cabinet Secretaries Kithure Kindiki for Interior, Saipan Tuya for Environment, and Alice Wahome for Lands are among those sued, with the Water Resources Authority, the National Environment Management Authority, the Council of Governors, the National Disaster Management Authority, and Kenya Railways also targeted. KHRC has requested the court to prioritize the case and besieged the court to compel the government to provide humanitarian assistance to flood victims before the case is heard and determined. Interior CS Kithure Kindiki's announcement about the precarious state of 178 dams and reservoirs prompted KHRC to seek a court order compelling the Water Resource Authority to submit a detailed report on all dams and water extractions. Elected Order, K24 TV.
5 days after schools reopened across the country, over 2,000 students from Ngea Primary School, one of the hardest hit by the Mahi Mahiu tragedy, have yet to return to school. Meanwhile, in Tana River County, more than 3,000 students are stranded after floods affected over 16 schools. Busara Naman has more on this developing story.
This is the situation at Ngea Primary School. Many students have not reported back, with parents and teachers attributing their absence to trauma from the recent tragedy. According to the head teacher, Josephat Nduru, many students lost their belongings, including school uniforms and books, in the incident, preventing them from attending classes.
Tulikuwa tunatarajia tutafungua vizuri. Wanafunzi wetu walikuwa wote kutoka chekechea mpaka grade ya 8 walikuwa 3,056. Lakini wakati hili janga lilitokea, wanafunzi wengi hawajaweza kurudi shuleni. Wale tumepokea hawajafika 1,000. Jana walikuwa wamefika 800.
Hata watoto wengi saa hii bado wako na depression. Hawaendi vizuri. Wangu mmoja nilimleta shule asubuhi na akaniambia nikuje niambie mwalimu hata hakubuki mahali alikuwa nakaa. Kwa hivyo mwalimu akumkumbushe mahali alikuwa nakaa.
In response, a committee has been appointed to address the issues facing the affected families. They have begun purchasing school uniforms and books for the students. To date, 62 bodies have been recovered, over 30 people are still missing, and close to 100 families are living in 2 camps around Mahi Mahiu town. In Isiolo, hundreds of households have been displaced after River Ewasonyiro burst its banks. The Kenya Red Cross, via their X handle on Friday, reported that 708 households in Meriti North and South have been displaced, severely affecting nearby schools, businesses, and critical health and sanitation facilities. Elsewhere, leaders in Tana River County are calling on the government to allocate special funds for the rehabilitation of schools damaged by floods. Speaking at Makere Primary School, Galole Member of Parliament Ribai Said said it will be challenging to fulfill the residents' call to rebuild schools without an emergency fund allocation as the financial year draws to close.
Tumefikia mwisho wa mwaka financial year. Sasa kuzishughulikia hizi shule inakuwa ni shida kupitia CDF kwa sababu already tushafika mwisho wa mwaka.
Muhula huu tumeathirika vikubwa sana. Darasa la chekechea mawili yameenda kwa mto, jiko la shule mzima limeenda kwa mto, na maofisi ya walimu na store ya vitabu, store ya chakula yote vimeenda kwa mto.
Busara Naman, K24 TV.
And with that report from Busara Naman, we take our first breather here at K24 Evening Edition. We have more stories for you. Stay put.
Mwezi huu wa Mei, changamka na StarTimes.